Hello, everybody. Gather around the campfire because I'm going to do my best to comfort an ailing nation, a nation of Raiders that have lost yet another game. And sitting here through 8 weeks of the National Football League season, the Raiders are 2-6, which is not how I saw this going. Although, in the back of my mind, when I was making those predictions, you know, when I had us going 10-7, there was a part of me that thought this could go south fast, but the optimistic fan in me, there's a lot of ifs, and we turn those ifs into whens. Not if, it's when Zamir White is the lead running back and when Aiden O'Connell starts. And then none of that happens and you're 2-6. And you play the Kansas City Chiefs. The last team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs was the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's still true. That's still true. We are still the last team to have beaten them, even though we have also lost to them as of 16 hours ago. And we're going to get into every little bit of that game. If you're watching me on Bleach Report, thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching me after the fact on YouTube, thank you as well. And if you're on Bleach Report and do not know that I have a YouTube channel, it is the name right here, ALLaBorde Raiders. As of right now, we sit at 2-6, and we are a bad football team. And there's a lot to discuss, but I think I'm going to be honest with you here. I think maybe it's the new glasses. I figured out the disconnect between how the Raiders look and feel going into a game and starting a game versus how the Raiders end up looking toward the middle and end of the game. Why it looks so good in the beginning and how it falls apart. And this has happened in 3 or 4 games now, winnable games. I think I figured it out. So as we get these comments rocking and rolling, I want to see people in the chat giving me some takes, some hot ones, some cold ones. We'll throw them up on the screen. And as I pull up here, the box score, right? This is actually one of the first games that we've lost this year where the box score kind of shows that we should have lost the game, which is a little refreshing. Usually, you look at the box score and you don't look at the score and you go, how did the Raiders lose this game? This is a game where total yards, we lost that battle. Passing yards, lost that battle. Rushing yards, 33 yards. That's not going to get it done. Yards per play, we were worse. We had, 8 less first downs. Third down efficiency was really bad for us. Very good for the Chiefs. And Kevin Harlan said it about 9 times in the broadcast. The Raiders are the number 2 third down defense in the National Football League. Didn't see that on Sunday. We were 1 for 2 on fourth down. Gave up 5 sacks, of course, because Gardner Minshew is the quarterback. We're going to get sacked 5 times. Turnover battle was equal, although it didn't feel equal. And the time of possession, they had 5 more minutes. And I just want to get into this right now because we can talk about Gardner Minshew. I actually thought Gardner Minshew was fine, but then he did what he did. He turned the ball over. There is, and I broke this down a little bit on my YouTube channel, there is a massive, massive coaching problem with this team. Now, I want to make this very clear. There is not a preparation problem. There is not a motivation problem. Those two things were okay. Antonio Pierce has proven, and Luke Getsy has proven, that guys want to play for them and that they get guys into position early in the game. You see where I'm going here? However, as the game moves on, and you're going up against Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, and you need to make in-game adjustments, they are terrible. Antonio Pierce is bad at it. Patrick Graham is bad at it. Luke Getsy is bad at it. The script, the first 15 plays, perfect. Beautiful. Antonio Pierce, Patrick Graham, defense flying around, blah, blah, blah. But when the time comes for clock management and in-game adjustments, we have zero chance with the current iteration of this coaching staff. Really bad stuff. Now let's talk right off the rip about the play, the sequence of the game. Gary brings it up. Intercepting Mahomes inside the 10 and not being able to score. Getsy and Minshew have got to go. I want to talk about this because Antonio Pierce talked about this in the press conference, and I did not like his answer because Trayvon Merrick picks off Patrick Mahomes. I'm screaming, you got to score, because I know how hard it is for the offense to score inside the 5-yard line. He doesn't score, right? Run the ball, sack on 4th down. Antonio Pierce in the press conference after the game says, well, last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, or was it last week, we were in that same position and we passed the ball 3 times. So this time we tried something different. Last game has nothing to do with the situation that you are in this game. Or whatever game he was referring to. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was the Steeler game where we went pass, couldn't score. I could be wrong. Or was it the Rams game? Whatever. It might have been the Rams game. The idea that, well, we passed it 3 times in the game before and it didn't work, so this time we're just going to run the ball 3 times. That's extremely concerning. Another thing about Antonio Pierce that I don't love, he got asked, what was your strategy when you had the ball with 2 minutes to go going into halftime? You have a chance to double dip, score, get the ball at half, score again. The first thing out of his mouth, we want to take time off the clock. We want to take time off the clock. Bro, we're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. The first thing out of your mouth is, we want to go score. That's the mindset that I thought Antonio Pierce was going to have this season. But he's playing like a puppy with his tail between his legs. We want to take time off the clock. So they go jet sweep, which gets blown up. Bad play call. Run up the gut. And then on 3rd down, when you want to take time off the clock, you pass the football. It's not adding up, Antonio Pierce. So here's my first poll to the nation. And we'll get into Luke Getsy, I promise you. I absolutely promise you. But after Christmas Day last year, I was a big proponent that Antonio Pierce had won the job. He deserved the shot. Last year, we were competitive in every single game we played. Every single one. But the way Antonio Pierce handles a lot of this in-game adjustment stuff, the way he manages the clock, inexplicably taking a timeout before halftime when we're on defense on 3rd and goal because he wants to make sure we get the right defensive unit out there. And then the very next play, the Chiefs score in a second. AP, you're a defensive guy. You didn't like the defense that was out there. You waste a timeout that we could have used to go score, to get your defensive unit out there, and then in 1 second, Travis Kelce's wide open in the end zone. What adjustments are you making there when you use that timeout? And now it makes sense that he used that timeout because his goal to get the ball with 2 minutes to go before halftime came to us was not to score. It was to run the clock out. And I get it. Well, they don't trust Gardner Minshew. You don't have the luxury of not trusting your quarterback when you're 2-5. Our team isn't good enough to play well in spite of its bad quarterback play. And guess what? Gardner Minshew was actually pretty good last night, I was going to say. Yesterday. He wasn't bad in the beginning of the game. He was like 9 for 11 with a touchdown. Let it rip. And if he turns the ball over, you as the head coach and as the offensive coordinator can go, well, what are we going to do? The personnel's not good enough. But instead, you played scared. They ran the play yesterday that they ran against the Denver Broncos where Gardner Minshew threw the pick 6. They ran it again yesterday in the beginning of the game, and it worked perfectly, and Minshew hit him, which told me Minshew might have it today. He might not have it the rest of the year, but today he might have it. And they played to run the clock out. So you don't score. The Chiefs get the ball back because you didn't really play to run the clock out because you passed the ball and Gardner Minshew threw the ball away. The Chiefs go down, kick a field goal. We go 3 and out to start the second half. Chiefs get the ball back. That is bad coaching. Bad coaching. And 59% of you have lost faith or have lost trust in Antonio Pierce. I think I'm with you. I believe he deserved this year to see if he can get his guys to be ready to play every Sunday and to be able to make in-game adjustments. And initially, I was part of the group that said, well, he wanted Cliff Kingsbury. We didn't get him. That's not his fault. And it's not Antonio Pierce's fault. So what were we supposed to do? There was no other options besides Luke Getsy. I refuse to believe that. You got to interview more people before you hire Luke Getsy. That's on AP. This is your staff, bro. This is your staff. I get it. We've dealt with a lot of injuries. But sometimes, like, you just need to use your eyeballs. That's why I thought Aiden was better than Gardner, because at the end of the day, I just watched with my eyeballs and I used my brain. And this doesn't look like Dan Campbell's first season. We've got way better players than the Lions did. And the frustrating thing is we lose to the Chiefs by 7. By 7 points. In a game where Gardner Minshew played well enough in the beginning. And I think it's a coaching problem. In-game adjustments, it's just terrible. Getsy seemed like a panic hiring. What's the reason for all them coaches if they aren't helping AP? Exactly. Marvin Lewis, Joe Philbin, Tom Coughlin. What are you doing on the sideline? This staff looks like a staff that has 0 head coaching experience. We had a better roster than the Lions did in Dan Campbell's first season when he went 3-13. That's what I was saying. Not now. Not now. When the Lions first hired him and they went 3-13. Because the people that are still pro AP have said, well, Dan Campbell in his first season went 3-13. You got to give AP time. And I get that, but they had the quarterback and they had nothing else. So let's move on to the offensive performance with our boy. And as I close this poll, 61% of you have lost faith in Antonio Pierce. And I don't disagree. I do not disagree. Let's move on to the OC to end all OCs, Luke Getsy. Let's look at the offensive performance here before I put the poll out, and I bet you can imagine what the poll is going to be. Gardner Minshew, 24 for 30, 209, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 1 fumble. Not bad. Manage the game. That's all we needed, Gardner. Manage the game. Don't turn the ball over. And we have a chance to win at the end, or at least tie it. And that's what happened. I feel a sneeze coming on, and I am fighting it like holy hell. It went away. I won the battle. Gardner Minshew managed the game. Didn't turn the ball over. Had a chance with 8 minutes to go to tie the game. That's all you need, because when the defense is playing well, all you need to do is not turn the ball over. But with 8 minutes to go, we have a chance to tie the game, and he fumbles. So that's Gardner Minshew being Gardner. I'm not going to get mad at Gardner Minshew because we know what he is. He's a backup. Alexander Mattison, 14. I'm sorry, does this say 14 carries for 15 yards? Wow. Bo Harder last year, interim play caller, right? Had some ups, had some downs. Got better when he was in the booth. We struggled to get the run game going early in a lot of these games where Antonio Pierce was the interim. And what he did with Josh Jacobs was get him on the outside where his speed could be key. Swing passes and bubble screens and pitch plays. Luke Getsy doesn't do any of that. Luke Getsy just goes up the middle. And if it doesn't work, well, we got to establish the run, so we're going to go up the middle again. And it's like, Getsy, like, our interior offensive line isn't good enough. Get some fast guys on the edge. It's not rocket science. It is not rocket science. Brock Bowers, really good early on, then just disappeared. Jacoby Myers is a stud. Alexander Mattison, DJ Turner all had receptions. They're playing well at times. I think they're just tanking. I go back and forth. Are we tanking or Are we just bad? I think it's a little bit of both. But as we look at this putrid offense, right, which has a lot of good players, and I get it, Gardner Minshew's not great, right? In fact, I would say he's bad. I'm just gonna put this up here and watch the results pour in, sort of like election day. I think we all know how this poll is gonna go. Should Luke Getsy be fired? And the people who want to say give him a year, don't say give him a year because you want us to lose. I want you to vote for give him a year if you really think he can improve. And I'm not saying like who's the people that think that. Really, if you think that, that's okay. Vote for that. But I'm of the opinion that he should be let go. And I'm of that opinion because the offense has not improved in the slightest since the beginning of the season when he's had ample time to continue to prove us wrong and make those in-game adjustments. Because the scripts have gotten better, but the in-game adjustments, they don't even exist. They do not even exist. And I think Luke Getsy is the culprit. We've seen him now have seasons with the Chicago Bears where he failed to get that offense going. He comes to the Raiders. We have 10 times the amount of weapons he had in Chicago. And that's why early in the season, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was pro Luke Getsy because I didn't want to immediately jump down the throat of the offensive play caller when the line was bad and when the quarterback play wasn't good and we couldn't run the football, right? And you have to give people a chance. You have to give the offense a chance to grasp the system and to mesh and to mold. And now it seems like we have a decent line in there. Some rookies, some rookie mistakes. I get it. And you had Gardner Minshew yesterday playing well. And the offense disappears 20 plays into the game. Just like it did against the Broncos. It happens time and time again. And at a certain point, when you've got people on the staff like Edgar Bennett, who was the offensive coordinator for the 2015, 2016, and 2017 Green Bay Packers, you can't justify this guy calling plays anymore. At the very least, you got to demote him. You got to demote him. And it's not like we have Todd Downing taking over the play calling responsibilities. You've got Edgar Bennett, who called plays for Aaron Rodgers when he was good. Remember that? It feels like a long time ago. And the Green Bay Packers when they were winning football games. And he is our current wide receiver coach. You got to promote this guy to call the plays. If you're not going to fire Getsy, there's got to be some sort of change to make these games even remotely watchable. Because where the effort's there, the enjoyment is not there to watch these football games. And if we go 2-15, whatever, then we draft our quarterback. That's fine. I do not want to watch a 2-15 where you're at least not looking like you are trying to right the ship in some sort of way. I don't think they should fire Antonio Pierce. That doesn't solve anything. You let him ride it out. See if he can prove to you at all that he deserves another shot at this. But Getsy, at the very least, has to be demoted now. And this is coming from someone who gave him every single chance to prove me wrong, to prove everybody else wrong. You're just not a good offensive coordinator. It just is what it is. I'm sorry to say. I don't like for people to get fired because these people have families, right? These people provide for other people. But at the end of the day, this is a business. And I'm not coming at this emotionally. 8 weeks in, nothing's changed. You've got to go. Demoted or fired. Now. We put you up in the box, didn't change anything. The scripts are good, but that's it. And as I browse through the chat here, I feel like Getsy got hired to tank. I said give him the year so he can be the commander of tanking. Yes, we need a quarterback. I feel like the Raiders play calling reflects the intent to lose as many games as possible. Brock doesn't get one target in the red zone. I know, it's embarrassing. The longer goes with Getsy not getting fired, AP's status more vulnerable. Getsy in a combination of turnovers is the reason this offense is terrible. Yes. It's Minshew and Getsy combined, right? It's an absolute problem. I have no faith that the Raiders would pick the best QB. Here's what I will say about that. Picking the best QB. Tom Telesco has proven, especially early in the draft, that he knows top end talent, and he's drafted people like Justin Herbert. He's been in the room when Bill Polian drafted Andrew Luck, and he tried to trade up for Jaden Daniels, who was the best quarterback in this draft. So I do believe in Tom Telesco drafting the right person. I do not believe in Luke Getsy being able to develop said young quarterback. And that's where the issue is. Because if Antonio Pierce is the head coach next year, you gotta find somebody that you trust to be able to develop this young quarterback. Because I don't think it's Luke Getsy. And you guys know where I stand on this. I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it last week. Ben Johnson is my guy to replace Antonio Pierce if we decide to go a different direction. The Lions destroy people offensively every single week. And my personal preference would be to get an offensive head coach that's proven that he's been able to make in-game adjustments, right? And if you go for somebody like a Mike Vrabel, which I don't hate, Mike Vrabel went to AFC championships with Ryan Tannehill. The problem is you're going to have to find that OC to mix with him, right? To pair with him. If you go for Ben Johnson, you don't have to find a head coach OC combo because he's both. And if we can entice him to take the job by saying, you get to pick the quarterback, you get to run the offense, you got Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Go get some free agent wideouts, shore up the offensive line. The defense is ready to go. If Ben Johnson goes, yeah, I want to be a Raider, what are we waiting for? Everything could fall into place here for us to become the Houston Texans. 3-13 to win in the division or whatever their record was. This is our chance, if the draft falls a certain way, if Telesco hits, to flip the script. But if they go AP next year, which I could see as a possibility, no doubt about it, you got to find the next great offensive coordinator. And last year, I suggested Cliff Kingsbury way before he was even on the radar of the Raiders or anybody. I'm going to suggest another name now. I'm going to throw another name out there. The wide receivers coach and pass game coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. Does anybody in the chat know who that is? If you've been watching me on YouTube, ALLaBorde Raiders, go check it out. You know who that is. And don't look it up, don't cheat. Does anybody know who the wide receiver coach / offensive pass game coordinator for the Miami Dolphins is? Does anybody know? That is my choice for our next offensive coordinator, because that pass game with Tua in there is electric. There you go, Donuts Duncan. It's Wes Welker. Wes Welker has the chance to take what he's learned from, I don't know, the best quarterback of all time, who happens to be our owner now, in Tom Brady, and all the stuff that Mike McDaniel has learned from Kyle Shanahan, and coordinate the next great offense. He's got a great relationship with Tom. He knows what it's like for a young guy like Tom to take the reins and to elevate his game, right? I trust Wes Welker, just like Mike McDaniel was trusted to develop Tua, to usher in this next young coordinator, or this next young quarterback. If we go with AP, you got to go get Wes Welker to be your OC. If it's Ben Johnson, then Ben will bring in his staff, and I trust whoever he brings. But I'm throwing that name out there into the ether. If Antonio Pierce gets another year, Wes Welker needs to be our offensive coordinator. I see someone saying we would be doing the show Pats thing again. The whole Pats thing again. No, not at all. Not at all. Wes Welker comes from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. It has nothing to do with the Josh McDaniels offense that was run in New England, because Mike McDaniel came from the 49ers, which Wes Welker also did. It would be a hybrid of the Dolphins and the 49ers. It would not be the Patriots. But he does have a relationship with Tom Brady. So I'm just throwing that name out there. All that to say, it is absolutely time for a change at OC. And if you guys got other names in there, I see Brendan Marion. Who is Brendan Marion? I'm looking that up. See, I like this. Throw in your potential OCs to take over for next year if Antonio Pierce is still the head coach. That'll be a good way to wrap this up. Brennan Marion. Who do we got? Who do we got? Okay, he's a coach. He coaches Texas. He's the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Texas. Is that true? I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Oh, no, no, no. I don't know. What is he here? Let's see. He's currently the coach for UNLV. He's the architect of the innovative go-go offense. Okay, I see. I got you. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Whoever it is, they need to hire somebody, whether it's Ben Johnson or whether it's the new up-and-coming OC. So that's where I stand on all this. As I end this poll, as I end this Luke Getsy poll, 87% say he should be fired. I don't know about fired, but demoted for sure. So next week we got the Bengals. Don't expect to win that game, but hey, we were competitive. So hopefully we're competitive next week. I don't know what else to say. It's just tough. 2-6. This is the worst we've been since John Gruden's first year, I guess. Yeah, when we went 4-12. Drafted Cleveland Ferrell. Hopefully we don't make that same mistake. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, head on over to youtube.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. We'll be talking throughout the whole week about all this nonsense. Assuming Luke Getsy gets fired in a little bit. Getsy getting ripped mercilessly on NFL Network. Yikes. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. See you next week. Hopefully it's a dub, but probably not.